Do I want to watch this guy? This man? Have you seen this man? He's just going to say America's terrorist, Israel's terrorist. If you don't like Hezbollah, it's because you hate Muslims. That's going to be the whole segment, okay? I feel like I've watched every Hasan segment on the entire Israeli-Palestine conflict. So...
They're here to debate you whether there's a bomb inside the pagers. No joke. They stunlocked Mike for 1 hour earlier. I'm not a fucking, like...
A one guy
expert, dude. I don't fucking know if there were bombs in the goddamn pagers or if they like overloaded the pagers enough that they exploded. I don't know. Okay, I have no idea.
That's a good answer.
I don't even care about whether they actually fucking snuck bombs into the pagers or if they somehow were able to overload the pagers enough that they exploded.
It's a war crime, by the way. It's terrorism.
Guess what? Either or, it still is an act of fucking terror, like mass terror.
Woohoo.
With the intent to cause chaos and kill as many people as possible, or at least maim them in a country that Israel is not actively fighting against.
Like, so you don't know what Hezbollah has been doing for the last 10 months. You know, there are like tens of thousands of people evacuated from northern Israel because of all the rockets and drones and UAVs. Does he not know? I don't think people know. It's not that they don't care. They don't know. I'm sure it wouldn't change their mind, but Lebanon and Israel are totally chill. It's illegal. I didn't even know this. It's illegal in Lebanon to talk to an Israeli citizen. If you're a Lebanese citizen, you can't talk to an Israeli. It's a crime. That's fucking mental. How do they know? Well, obviously some people get away with it by talking on Discord or whatever, but it's probably hard to find now because everything that comes up on Google search is pager story. Oh, it's an anti-normalization law. That's what it is. That's what they justify it with. Hezbollah's efforts to neutralize the Abraham Accords by threatening and prosecuting Lebanese citizens who interact with Israelis, including expatriates living or working in Gulf countries. There are some people in other countries who face legal issues if they go back to Lebanon. Were some people not arrested under this law at the airport, like because they spoke outside? But yeah, that's quite fucked up, isn't it? I learned that from I first heard about it from Dimmy Time. Because he thought that I couldn't go to Lebanon anymore because I went to Israel, but I'm not a Lebanese citizen, so it's okay for me. But yeah, shit.
Units and institutions. I want to bring in foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burge in Paris, along with ABC News contributor, former senior CIA field operative Daryl Blocker for more. Tom, what's the latest?
Yeah, Diane, this appears to be a highly sophisticated and widespread attack across...
Yeah, super sophisticated. Israel is fucking small bean, but also very moral and very responsible in the way that they're doing mass terror here in Lebanon, where I'm standing.
When you think about Israel's military capabilities and their act of mass terror kills 12 people, you're kidding me, bro. Like,
in front of civilians. Very nice.
Lebanon. Lebanon's health ministry now saying 2,750 people injured in this attack, including 200 of those people critically injured. We're seeing video which is too graphic to show you of catastrophic.
Yeah, hey, by the way, if you want to understand whether something is like immoral and unconscionable, imagine if Russia did this in Ukraine. That way, you will very quickly recognize how the media would react. Okay? Okay, if Russia did this in Ukraine, literally everyone would understandably go, what the fuck are you doing?
It's because I don't know why, like they're pretending to act as if every country has an equal casus belli for what they're doing.
This is just mass terrorism. Holy shit. And it's not even in Ukraine, actually. If Russia was doing this in fucking Poland...
It's bad for any Lebanese, for any US-supported ceasefire. That's probably a legit criticism, yeah, because I had a feeling, but I don't know what was happening just before these strikes. I don't know if Hezbollah was backing off beforehand.
Poland. All right? And we don't actually have to analyze or speculate, because guess what? Russia does do this to their own political dissidents every now and then. Never to this degree, never this widespread, actively targeting thousands of fucking people that are like among civilians. You know what I mean?
catastrophic injuries to a number of individuals in multiple hospitals across Lebanon. They're saying that 8 people have been killed in the attack, including a 10-year-old girl. We've had now 2 statements from Hezbollah, that Iranian-backed...
There appears to be a third attempt on Trump's life. Oh my God! Again, please, just no Democrats, please. Please be a Republican for the 3rd time. Oh my God, I can't take it. I can't fucking take it.
Proxy group based in Lebanon. They are saying 2 of their members are amongst the 8 people.
Okay, first,
do you realize how careful he is to say that it wasn't targeting Hezbollah? Yeah, of course he is, yeah. Again, doesn't let... Even if they targeted Hezbollah, well, obviously they did. So far, that seems to be the closest guess we can get. But if we're talking about... Given that they targeted Hezbollah, that might not let them off the hook, because I don't know how Israel was supposed to know what kind of collateral damage would come from setting off those pagers. How would they know? How would they know where everyone was? I don't think they did. Unless they'd practiced this so many times that they knew that the explosion would only hurt the person holding the pager. In which case they just thought, well, if there's any situation where one guy's child is playing with his fucking pager, or it's like in a different room or something like that, or there's a civilian in the area, then it's worth it because it'll mostly just hurt the people who are holding pagers. But I don't know what the law is there. Like, is it just a guess or like a reasonable assumption? I don't know what the law is for that. You can never 100% know. You can't 100% know, but if you drop a bomb on a building, you generally have intel on who's in the building. Proportionality. Why are you saying proportionality like that's that's what we're talking about? Yeah, of course it's about proportionality, but that's why I don't know. I don't know how you could do a proper proportionality calculation with that, because I don't think did they know where everyone was? If they did, that's actually quite bad, because a lot of people were just in the middle of a shop on a street when they got hit. It's not like they were in the base. It's more about the explosives capabilities. Well, that seems to be their best defense, is that they had good reason to believe it would be in the hands or very on the person of Hezbollah militant, and not, in the bedroom or whatever the fuck else. And also a good reason to believe that I think the best piece of evidence the IDF has for this is that the guy in the market, the fruit market, because there's a civilian 2 feet away from him, and the civilian is fine. They just back off and run away, even though the explosion happens like within hand's reach of them. So I'm guessing they just trusted. They just had good reason to believe that the pagers wouldn't hurt people even if they were right next to the fires. They made it to ping Hezbollah to pick it up and check it. How long between the ping and the explosion was it? Probably just a few seconds, right? Seems like the most precise targeted strike in history, to be honest. I don't know why people are saying that. Do you know that there are actually quite a lot of counter-terror operations that kill 12 militants and no 10-year-olds die? Do you not know that? You don't know that there are actually operations where... Why are people saying it's the most precise and... Like, God, it's not. It's actually... there are probably millions of counter-terror operations that had a better, like, a ratio than 10-2. And as for the injuries, that's assuming every injury was Hezbollah, because again, I'd imagine some people who got injured were not just Hezbollah. If you take the deaths, if you extrapolate from the deaths, what would that be? 10-2 collateral damage. You guys are fucking retarded. I don't know if you're jumping into the stream like 5 seconds ago and just injecting yourself into the conversation without finding out where exactly we are. On the one hand, you're saying there's collateral damage, and the other, it's like it's the most precise strike in history or whatever. It's not the most precise strike in history. Shut the fuck up. I don't know why people are saying that. It's just a stupid Hasbroid talking point that doesn't make any sense. Even Israel has better fucking operations that don't kill any civilians, actually. They don't hurt any civilians. Like Yamam and whoever those guys are. They do that shit, like, plenty of times. Ugh. You say it's a below or above average ratio. I mean, it's probably a very high militant to civilian ratio. Probably.
First of all, it's not just a proxy group based in Lebanon. It's also a fucking
It's the
political.
most precise strike for how large scale it is. What, compared to like the airstrikes on the Egyptian airfields in the 6-Day War? Were there civilians running around those airfields?
Party, dude. What the Oh my God. Well, Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. Dog, if Hezbollah is a terrorist organization,
Then
America is the top terrorist organization, which it is, by the way. America is the top dog in terrorism, and so is Israel. What the
we need to do some research on what Hezbollah does in Syria. There's a video from about 10 years ago of some Sunnis fleeing Syria, fleeing Assad, and they're in Lebanon and they're in Hezbollah territory, and there's this woman basically screaming about how she's basically come out of the frying pan and into the fire.
the fuck are you talking about? No, what you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim. Okay? That's what you meant to say. What you meant to say is they're Muslim.
No.
So of course, as
they're Muslim.
it's different.
Because every army actually is a terrorist organization that's Muslim. That's probably what this chatter is saying. This chatter thinks Egyptian army, terrorist. Moroccan army, terrorist. Emirati army, terrorist. That's probably what they're thinking. That's a good way to... How do people watch this shit? How do... You're... Yep, true, yep. Oh God, oh my God. The white supremacy argument's going to be pretty funny when the commander-in-chief of the United States is a black woman. That's going to be... It's obviously white supremacy. No, it's because Hezbollah are not a legitimate government. Like, if you want to appeal, and you guys appeal to international law all the time, the UN Security Council told Hezbollah that they should disarm and hand military power over to the Lebanese government. That's... Okay.
They're Muslim. It's
Definitely
so funny
not
to
that
say,
they,
well, Hezbollah is a terrorist organization.
How would, again, someone needs to tell Hasan that these guys, like, that Hezbollah is allied with Assad. They helped Assad against the Sunnis and against the opposition in Syria. And a lot of Sunnis who fled Syria ended up in Hezbollah territory and got fucked because of it. I don't know, man.
When we are covering a story about Israel openly taking credit over exploding fucking pagers directly in a country that they're not in war with right now, okay? Around civilians.
I don't...
Like, you would just...
how does he not know what's been happening? It's so funny that, like, having actually been to northern Israel and listened to drones going off all the fucking time and hearing explosions just, like, a few kilometers away, and because it's all so close together, and because it's in the Galilee, it's a valley, the echo is so disparate that you don't actually even know which explosion you're hearing is Hezbollah or IDF artillery. Like, you don't know if it's Israel firing over or Hezbollah firing towards. You just don't know. It's fucking scary. And, like, seeing all these emptied Israeli towns and the sort of makeshift camps that some of them are living in, like, fuck. There's like tens of thousands of Israelis who are displaced. They've been displaced for months.
justify 9/11 if Israel did it to another country. Straight up at that point.
9/11, bro.
They killed a fucking 8-year-old, man, or a 10-year-old. You might be brain dead, but we already knew this. Come on, brother. Come on, dude. Is this the only thing you got? Is this actually the only thing you got? You can't speak out on the atrocities that Israel does in Gaza. So now it's like a new debate position that, like, they deserved it. They all have to fucking...
Apparently Hezbollah's former leader denounced their involvement in Syria. What's this? Subi al-Tufaili. Hezbollah fighters dying in Syria will go to hell, says Tufaili. Former Secretary General Sheikh Sobi Tufali said the Shiites in Syria do not need Hezbollah to defend them. Besides, this could cause problems, and Sayyid Zainab does not need to be protected because the Sunni community loves her. Sayyida, sorry. He's referring to the shrine of Sayyida Zainab bin Ali in Damascus. Hezbollah claims it's defending Lebanese Shiites in Syria. Interview with MTV. He said Hezbollah should not be defending the criminal regime that kills its own people and has never fired a shot in defense of the Palestinians, stressing that Hezbollah is responsible for every Shiite killed in Syria, adding that those Hezbollah fighters who are killing children and terrorizing people and destroying houses in Syria will go to hell and cannot be considered as martyrs. Hezbollah considers everyone that is killed in Syria as a martyr. The former Hezbollah chief added, the biggest beneficiary of the conflict in Syria is the Israeli enemy because it wants to defeat both teams, Syria and Hezbollah. Why are we sending our finest youth to die in defense of a criminal regime instead of sending them to resist against Israel? He continued, we are afraid that the conflict in Syria will spill over to Lebanon, but instead we are going there. Does Lebanon, what does Hezbollah still hold in Syria? Syria control map today. This is where we need Sundowner, guys. If only he'd been more well behaved. I don't think it's like a sizable amount of territory. It's just a few villages, isn't it? Border regions, yeah. Because the Syrian regime, like the Assad regime, still holds basically everything on the Lebanese border. If you have an expansionist state next door, how do you defend the border? Which expansionist state are you talking about? Do you think Israel's trying to conquer Lebanon? I'm Syrian. I'd love to chat about Hezbollah role in Syria. Well, get in the Discord, bro. I wonder if there were any particular events, like particular atrocities or massacres that are well known. Is it just... When did those northern Israeli towns appear, and isn't there similarities with actions at the West Bank? No. No. The Israeli northern towns, some of them are ancient. Some of them are from the 48 war. But no, there's a blue line. There's a blue line that Israel is over the side of. Hezbollah are supposed to go to over the Litani to have a gap between the blue line and to have a buffer zone, but they don't go there. Okay, bye, guys. What? What's your problem? The fuck? Sorry, is that guy coming? Zane. Zane? Are you coming in, or were you just, or is this for later? You were talking about wanting to talk. A whoa. He did not run. Let's make a new little note page. Hezbollah in Syria. Be there in 5 minutes. Okay. Just going to do some misc notes, because I feel like this might be discourse for a while now. Former General Secretary. Sheikh Sobhi? Is it Sobhi? I don't know. He denounces Hezbollah's actions in supporting Assad in Syria. Is this website actually called Yaliban? Yalibnan. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Just made me think of the Taliban meme. Okay.
Everyone that is in the vicinity of Israel needs to die. Is that your actual argument? Just go back to watching your fucking pro-genocide debate, Lord, please. Just leave and go watch that. Okay? Holy fuck, dude.
Why are we watching Hasan?
Hasbro bots are clowns, ignore it.
I want to hear what the arguments are.
I don't even think this is a Hasbro bot. I think this is just like a fucking serial debate.
No, actually, I think Hasan is just, he hasn't even probably bothered to find information or counterpoints, because he just considers it to be terror because he thinks they're aggressing on a country that is at peace with them or is not at war with them. What does he think the situation is between Israel and Lebanon right now?
Guy. That's probably what it is.
Killed in this attack, and Hezbollah is saying that what happened is at about 3:30 in the afternoon local time in Lebanon, pager devices, remember those are devices that can receive messages but not calls, effectively exploded. So members of Hezbollah carrying pagers, we've seen videos confirming this, that appear to show individuals looking down towards what
I feel like people don't look at this with nuance, regardless of their position. Should civilians have been hurt during this attack? It's okay since it was meant to target militants. It's not. Like, dude. Here
it comes. He's coming. He's dropping the bomb.
Imagine.
Let's go.
First of all, there are certain rules about like how you can conduct international war. And the
Okay.
rules are there so that it doesn't happen to you either.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't always run with the assumption that like our guns are better, our cyber terrorism is better, so we get to do it and they get to do nothing in return. This is one of those rules. You cannot mass explode communication devices used by fucking civilians. De facto terrorism, since many of the people whose pages were blown up are not military targets, but civilian members of the political wing of Hezbollah.
Do we know this? Do we know this for sure yet? Again, if that's the case, if Hezbollah fucking tax collectors and hospital administrators or whatever are using the exact same pagers, then that is a problem. Then Israel would be very morally culpable for either not knowing when they should have or not caring. That would be a huge issue. Who is making this defense, though? Again, the deaths make it quite apparent that the targets were fighters, not party members. They just made this up. They invented it. It's a lie.
And the chaos it caused, for example, if the victims were driving or in a crowded area, it could mean more random civilian deaths. It is directly an act of terrorism, okay? It's directly an act of terrorism in not a war zone, mind you, okay? You can just say that they're Muslim so they deserved it all day, every day, but it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah.
Life must be so easy when your political opponents are this mental. Can you imagine? Like every single person contesting Hasan right now is just someone who thinks it's okay to murder any Muslim, like for no reason. Like, damn, those people are fucked up. Yeah, whoa. The world's pretty scary out there with this many Muslim slayers.
I'm from Lebanon. The pages are available for everyone. My cousin had one too. He works as a nurse. Fortunately, she did not hold it in her hands. The absolute majority of casualties are civilians.
On the
over
ground.
4,000 already. Like, this is insane, dude. This is insane. I don't care about Hezbollah members. No civilian would use a...
Also, it doesn't... Again, that's also theorizing. It's also theorizing that even if it were the case, it's still theorizing that everyone... That... First of all, that it's the same brand of pager. Also, I don't believe this many people are using pagers in 2024, okay? I just don't believe you. I don't believe him. Second of all, if Israel booby-trapped the pagers, then that's assuming that they would have some kind of control over where those pagers were being sent to. But okay. Again, and also, why? Why would the deaths be so heavily concentrated as Hezbollah? Why would it be 10 out of 12? Why?
Pager dog? Are you fucking stupid, dude? What do you mean no civilian would use a pager?
Oh no.
The civilians
The
that
counter
use
arguments are shit
pagers
as well.
are doctors and nurses, you fucking idiot. What the fuck are you talking about?
The hospital was told to stop using pagers a week ago. I'm from Lebanon, Hasan's chatter is lying. Hey, I can say that too.
Hospitals still use them, you dumb fuck.
Okay. Hello. Oh wait, I'm fucking muted. Shit.
Guys, please stop calling me Hamas Piker, crying face. It's very Islamophobic. Star and Crescent. Also, the Houthis are based and Hezbollah is the de jure government.
Hello,
And
how's
he
it going?
wonders why he gets his nickname
It's great.
long.
Are you hearing me well?
Yeah, I am now, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, first of all, it's been a while that I've been following you. I see that you talk a lot about Syria and Lebanon in comparison to other streamers, so I'm really glad to be talking to you.
Cool. What do you have for us today?
I'm sorry?
I said, what do you have for us today?
So you were talking about Hezbollah's role in Syria.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it other than that they helped Assad, mostly in the border areas.
So I was wondering if you have any specific questions, or do you want me to give you the... Yeah, mostly in the border areas, but also like in the... so they did this famous siege on a place called Zabadani and Madaya. And this is like next to Damascus, so it's not only on the border. So they were really involved inside Syria as well.
Okay. And what were these operations like? Because I hear about them targeting villages, and I've got like this one ex-Hezbollah guy talking about how they murdered like women and children and shit. Like, what was the? Are there any like particular instances where there were massacres or atrocities when they were doing this, or what?
Yeah, there's one. Wait, I'm just gonna try to remember the name. There was one where they really like killed children with knives. It was like pure criminal, heinous crime. Uh, Wait, I'm trying to search for the name. I will get back. It's the Qusayr, I think. I think it was the Qusayr massacre.
How would I spell that?
It's Qusayr. I think that was the one.
Okay, I think
That was the famous one. I'm trying to think if there's another one.
Al-Qusayr. Oh yeah, this was in 2012. They took over the 8 villages in that district, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they were pretty involved since the beginning. So I don't know if you know about the links between Hezbollah and Assad even before the war.
No, but I'm guessing it's because they're both connected to Iran.
Yeah, exactly. The axis of resistance.
Hmm.
I think the main thing that's why when people like Hassan talk about Hezbollah, they try to like apologize for all his crimes. Like they forget that even before Syria, Hezbollah like was heavily involved in killing the Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafiq al-Hariri, which probably was the decision came from Syria, from Assad directly. I don't know if you read about the trial, but like the evidence, like don't lie. But the like has basically Assad used Hezbollah as his arm in Lebanon to just terrorize the political the political people there. There was a series of assassination attempts. I'm sure you heard about them, but they basically killed everyone who's opposed to Assad and Hezbollah there together.
Okay, in Syria or Lebanon?
And Lebanon. So it
Okay.
was like Rafiq al-Hariri, who was just like one of the most famous prime ministers in Lebanon's history, probably. But also like writers, journalists like Samir al-Qasir is like a leftist journalist. But of course, people like Hassan don't care about leftists if they're not like on his side. And there's also Samir al-Qasir and there's Gibran Twaini, like two famous journalists who were probably killed by Hezbollah. But like the decision was always coming from Assad to Hezbollah, but I think there was a shift after 2011 because Assad was needing like arms and fighters. That's where Hezbollah came in to help them. But the power kind of shifted where now they're kind of equal. But before, like Hezbollah was just a proxy for Syria and Lebanon, like from what my point of view.
Okay. What does Assad gain from Hezbollah sowing chaos in Lebanon?
So basically, the Assad family always saw like Lebanon as just the greater Syria bullshit. Like Lebanon is just part of Syria. Like Syria is the greatest, like kind of one of the greatest power in the Arab world. So there was like this fight between like Syria, or the Saudis and Egypt. And Syria was really wanted to stay involved in everything around them, so they wanted to monopolize the Palestinian cause. And once there was war in Lebanon, they were heavily involved. Like for us, we consider that the Syrian army was occupying Lebanon until 2004, until I forgot the number of the UN decision, which Rafiq al-Hariri was responsible for. That's why they got out there and killed him. But yes, Assad just considers that Lebanon is just an extension of his influence in this sphere, like in the Middle East sphere. And also, like for a historical reason, that Lebanon is just part of Syria.
Okay.
So what he gains for is like Lebanon was always considered this kind of like Western oriented country where it's more liberal country. Like Rafiq Hariri was pretty liberal. He was very close to Jacques Chirac, the president of France at the time. So I think he was worried that Lebanon would just become this place where like Syrian opposition would go there and start like a counter-revolution. A lot of Lebanese intellectuals like Samir al-Qasir, who was killed by Assad, was calling for a revolution in Syria in like 2003, 2004, before it was even imaginable.
Wow. So what's Hezbollah's presence in Syria been like from say like 2012, 13 up until today? How's it moved?
I don't think they have like their proper like regions. Like it's not like Russia and the Kurds and Iran where their presence is greater. It's more obvious. I think they're basically on the borders, in Homs, like in the I think the villages of Homs, a big city in Syria. But they are very. So, are you aware of the Kryptagon trade?
No.
So, Kryptagon is apparently this very dangerous drug. It's some kind of a methamphetamine, I think. Uh, there were many bills passed by the U.S. Congress about that. So basically, the Kryptagon is this. Like, I'm surprised not enough people are talking about this because it's really a huge problem in the Arab world at the moment. So it's this drug that is very cheap, very effective, very dangerous for health. That is being distributed by Hezbollah and the fourth guard of the Syrian army. I think it's called like that in English. So basically, the Syrian and Hezbollah are cooperating together to monopolize the all the drug dealing in the region, and they're sending huge numbers of Kryptagon pills to Saudi Arabia and Emirates, because that's where rich people like can buy
Yeah.
drugs in the first place. And actually, when you look like why are like Jordan, the Saudis are like begging Assad for normalization right now, just basically because they're so fucked by all the Kryptagon trade that has been going on. They're just trying to convince him like, please stop sending us drug and like fucking our population. So I think Hezbollah are very involved in that as well, especially that they work on the border and they have like more. Uh, I think they have like some cooperation in Jordan, like unofficial cooperation. So right now they're really working on that. The fighting in Syria is kind of on hold right now. There's some fighting in Idlib. Whenever there's fight in Idlib, I think the Hezbollah members are involved in that. But mainly the role, I think, is the. So now I think they more follow Iran than Assad, like since a couple of years. So Hezbollah now in Syria, like their main role is to supervise the shipment of arms from Iran to Lebanon, like to them, to the south of Lebanon. And that's why when you see like a lot of like Israel have been bombing Syria a lot recently.
Yeah.
It's most of the time it's just like arms shipment. And there's this like known joke between Syrians, like whenever you see like we just see like Israel bombed Syria, they killed a couple of members, but there's no names, nothing comes out. And then like a month later, some names come out, but as if they were killed in Lebanon. So Hezbollah doesn't want for people to think that a lot of his members are being killed in Syria. So he's just pretending that all of these people are killed by Israelis on the Lebanon frontiers while like trying to fight Israel. But even now, like for the pagers, yesterday, a couple of them were exposed in Syria. So there were some members of Hezbollah in Syria that got that were bombed yesterday.
Interesting. Is this map from 2020? I don't know if you can see on my stream. Is this map still accurate with the kind of like Hezbollah presence with Iran just kind of sort of coursing through the country a little bit? Like, seems to be.
It seems like I cannot know the exact locations, but I think it seems accurate. Like, yeah, they're basically everywhere. So there's also this big problems between Iran and Russia recently in Syria, where they're trying to decide who's going to be the main influencer in Syria. So the Russians are trying to push out Iranians. So that's why you never see them. Like, I feel like they're not on the map you're showing me. They're not present enough on the southeast of Syria.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think when you see Al-Bu Kamal on the right,
Yeah.
this is like the main point when there are a lot of fighting recently. It's just skirmish between some members, but basically the Iranians are trying to attack the Kurds there. And there's also Al-Tanf. Al-Tanf is the one of the last military bases of America in Syria.
Right.
So there's often skirmish between like the Kataib Hezbollah, who's like the Shiite militias, the Iranians, the Kurds, and the Americans there.
When I remember distinctly about 10 years ago, there was this group of Syrians, opponents of Assad, who had fled into Lebanon and ended up in Hezbollah territory during the war. And there was a woman talking about how they basically felt like they were out of the frying pan and into the fire, as in away from Assad, but into Hezbollah's territory. How did Syrians who were fleeing Assad get treated when they were in Lebanon? Like, what was it like for Syrians who fell into like Hezbollah's areas?
So basically, there are, I think, 2 million Syrians in Lebanon, like 2 million refugees. So it's a huge number for like the small country that Lebanon is. So there's this joke that Hezbollah hates Syrians that are against Assad, but Christian Lebanese hate all Syrians,
Yeah,
like pro and
Yeah.
against Assad. So for Syrians, they've been having very hard time in Lebanon in general in the last 10 years. Most of them are in the camps on the frontiers. They don't even have like homes. It's very difficult for them to live like inside Lebanon. So I think a lot of them went to the south because the south of Lebanon is still a lot cheaper than the city center. But also the south is controlled by Hezbollah. And yeah, Hezbollah basically, like for me myself, I fled out of Syria because my father was imprisoned by the regime. But I wouldn't dare to go to Lebanon right now because I know like Hezbollah know everything that happened there. And if they're trying to search for some Syrian in Lebanon, they would get to them and kill them. And also, I think it's underrated how much heinous and racist Hezbollah are towards Sunnis.
Yeah.
So for them, like all the Sunnis are enemies, and Sunnis are like 80% of the Syrian population. So even when they were sending their crews to fight in Syria, it was with the point that these Sunnis funded by the Saudis and the Americans are trying to get there to get I think you talked about it earlier, like Sayyida Zainab and other holy places for Shiite.
Yeah. How those statements from the former Hezbollah General Secretary, I think one of the things he said was that he said that Shiites in Syria didn't need protection from Hezbollah. Is it common for Shiites in Syria to condemn Hezbollah, or like was it true that they didn't need Hezbollah to keep them safe, or like were they under threat from the Syrian rebels or the government, or how did that go?
So first of all, the Shiite in Syria are like 0.3% of the Syrian population. There are very few Shiite in Syria. But are you aware of the different branches of Shiite?
Nope.
Like there's the Alawites, the Ismaili, the Druze, kinda, and there's the Twelvers. So when we say Shia in the common language, we mean the Twelvers. So the Twelvers are the Hezbollah, Iran, and then like very small, like a couple of families in Syria, not more. But the Alawites and the Ismailites are also branches of Shiism. They're very different in their ideology, their doctrine from the classic Twelvers. And they actually used to hate each other. Like I remember, like my mother is Ismailite, so they hated Alawites, they hated Shiite. Like there were even wars in Syria between them, between villages. They were always have to like fled from each other, like fight each other. But after the revolution, they came together at this moment of listen, we might hate each other, but we hate the Sunnis more. So let's stick together.
Okay.
So the Alawites, Alawism is the religion of Bashar al-Assad.
Yeah.
He's Alawite, and Alawites generally are very secular, liberal in the sense of that they don't do Ramadan, they don't put hijab. Like it's very different from what Hezbollah thinks of Iran. But after 2011, Assad realized that if he doesn't have fighters from Iran and Hezbollah, especially that this was before the Russian, he knew how far the Russians would go. There was no way that Assad would have survived the war. It's impossible. So yeah, no,
You're saying
that's
he wouldn't
also.
have survived without Hezbollah, you're saying?
Oh
Or
yeah, completely,
okay.
completely. Especially in the beginning, like I think it's like ancient history now, but there was a moment in 2012, 2013 where people actually thought like Assad, it's impossible for Assad to win the war. Like the Free Syrian Army was kinda well organized. They were getting the big cities. They took Aleppo at some moment, which was the second biggest city in Syria, and they were getting arms from the Western countries. It was at that moment when he needed experienced fighters because Assad had a lot of fighters. He had his army and all the Alawites in Syria, but a lot of the army, like commanders, generals, defected and went to the Free Syrian Army.
Hmm.
So he just ended up with some Alawites who had no experience to fight. He just basically became like he gave arms to any Alawite who wanted to join the pro-regime militias, but they were no experience. So that's why he needed like some experienced generals from Iran and Hezbollah to actually start getting some regions and area back.
Hmm. Um. So, are there a lot of what happens to the Syrian civilians who are in these towns when Hezbollah captures them? Do they have to? Do they just flee, or do they end up living under Hezbollah rule, or what's the trend?
I don't think whenever Hezbollah came back to a city, like when they gained control of city, they would give it back like directly almost to the Syrian regime. Like there was no like de facto reign by Hezbollah. I think like they're always there, but the main control of this region that they get back is always the Syrian regime.
Ah, okay.
So, there were a lot of massacres. A lot of people died. A lot of people went to Lebanon. Like that's why it's so frustrating when you see like Hezbollah members being racist against Syrian, because most of them are in Lebanon because of Hezbollah. Like they were in the cities on the frontiers between Syria and Lebanon. So like logically the closest place would be Lebanon. That's why they fled there.
Yeah.
But also like there was a lot of cleansing happening whenever the regime gained a region back. Like it sounds like unimaginable, but yeah, there were like whole cities like Aleppo, half of Aleppo, like people from Aleppo just went off Aleppo. He
Mhm.
wanted actually to push people away because now most of all of the buildings, the houses who were left empty, they're now being purchased or like legally or illegally by members of the Syrian regime or Shiite settlers from Iran. So now there's some regions where there's like it's wholly like everyone who's living there is Iranian, whereas like this was a non-seen before. I've never seen an Iranian person in my life, and now there are like whole neighborhoods and small cities that are inhabited by Iranians.
Wow. Yeah, I just noticed as well. There was like and a lot of because obviously the alliance between Syria and Hezbollah doesn't really make all that much sense religiously because Assad is supposed to be like a secular leaning, self-proclaimed socialist leader allying with fundamentalists of Hezbollah.
Yeah.
I think there was a Shiite cleric, wasn't there? It was Muqtada al-Sadir who said that I think he accused Hezbollah of killing more Syrians than Israelis. I mean, that's probably obvious, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Muqtada Sadr is the Iraqian guy. That's the one.
The what? Sorry.
Is he the Iraqi cleric, or
Yeah,
are we talking
Iraqi
about someone
Shia
else?
cleric. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's like considered as part of the opposition in the Iraq right now. So yeah, no, I completely agree. Like so in Syria, like since the war, we estimate like 600,000 people have died in the conflict.
Hmm.
Most of them killed by the regime and his allies. So yeah, Hezbollah played a big role in it.
Wow.
That's why, like, if you look at the social media, so the old Syrians, like Syrians from the oppositions, well, not all of them, but most of them are like celebrating the bombing of Hezbollah. Like even though most Syrians are not fan of Israel, anyone who would hit Hezbollah is like celebration cause for us.
What do you think about? Is that why there was a song that was put out, wasn't there? it was an Arab song that was created just yesterday celebrating the
Yeah,
explosions.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like often, like whenever I open Twitter and I see like photos of like and videos of people doing debki and like giving out baklava, like I know that someone imported from Hezbollah or Iran has died.
So, do you mind me asking where you went to from Syria? Or you don't have to say that if you don't want to.
No, yeah, sure. No, I'm open book. So I grew up in Hasaka. It's like in the northeast of Syria. I think you can see it on the map. Al Hasaka. Yeah, that's where I'm
Oh
from.
yeah, Al-Hasaka.
So now it's under the control of the Kurds. But I think 2012, I moved with my family to Damascus, to the capital.
Mhm.
And I got out from Syria in 2015.
Okay. Where
Yeah,
did
so
you end up?
I'm in France right now, in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In 2015 you got there.
In 2015, I got out of Syria.
So when did you arrive in France around the same time as Bataclan, right?
Actually, we were in. So we got out from Syria in October in 2015 because we had, like, my parents had a meeting with the French embassy to ask for a visa, like for political refugees.
Mm-hmm.
So they did that in like end of October, and mid-November there was the Bataclan. Like while we were waiting for the approval for our visa, so we're very stressed about not getting the visa. Especially like they were talking about like a Syrian passport was found in Bataclan.
Yeah.
The extreme right was asking to stop like accepting Syrian people in France. There was the whole Muslim ban shenanigan by Trump. So we were very stressed about that. But François Hollande, the president at the time, actually came out and said something like, "We're actually gonna accept even more Syrian refugees right now." So that's why we were like, "Okay, we're all good."
Yeah, I was going to ask because I know that when the Bataclan attacks happened, Syrian refugees were like in large part blamed for it, I guess, because they were the big group that was in France at the time. Like, did you feel any of that when you got there? Did you feel like people were like, what was that like? Were you received like well, or was it really racist? Or yeah,
I would say I had like a very positive experience in France. I cannot talk about it to everyone, obviously, but I don't think there's like specific racism to Syrians in France. I think most people don't care, don't know what happens in Syria. There just some racism against Arab in general, so that's why we get a bit discriminated, but nothing specific against Syrians. Because also we're very few in France. I think we're like 50,000.
okay.
So it's nothing. Like in Germany, I think we're about 1.5 million right now, Syrians. So there is like a real anti-Syrian movement from the far right in Germany. But in France, I actually no one ever made me like feel this. Like I was responsible for the Bataclan or even make a joke or a link about it.
Okay. Did you ever encounter a blonde Canadian journalist asking you questions about whether or not you were a legitimate asylum seeker?
No, I haven't. How are you referring to?
Okay, just checking. She might have used a fake name, but around here we call her Lauren Southern. Okay.
Oh, Lawrence, yeah, the famous Lawrence Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see her on the Destiny stream sometimes. But no, unfortunately, I've never talked to her. I've seen that she did some debates with Destiny about like the whole immigration to Europe and the consequences, the grave consequences of that.
Yeah, I mean, she visited France, didn't she? She went to France and interviewed, I think it was North African refugees who were living under a bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's also something that's like some people when they talk like they mix a lot between immigration and refugees.
Yep.
So like when we talk about like North African refugees, I'm not even sure what she's referring to. Like in France, they're very clear about like we only accept refugees who are like under direct political danger, like a personal danger from the political regime in their country, or if they're coming from a country where there's war.
Mm.
A North African, like I've never seen a North African refugee in France, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think it was people who arrived from North Africa, but I think it was people who were probably from Mali at the time, right? Because they could speak French as well.
Yeah, that might be the case. That might be the case. Also, like in France, there are a lot of people that come, like they're asylum seekers. So they ask for the refugee status, but most of them get refused. Like 80% of the people who ask for it get refused because they know in the first place that there is no chance in hell they would get it. Like they would just like shooting a shot.
Yeah.
But like it's like when Ukrainians came, all of them got the refugee status. When Syrian came, like all of the Syrians I know that got the refugee status. Same for Sudan. So yeah, unless you have like a really valid reason, no, like the refugee status like is not open to anyone.
Hmm. I never thought about this. I know in Lebanon people can speak French because it used to be French ruled. Is that the same in Syria? Can people in Syria speak French?
No, not at all. And I'm so angry about that because I spent like the first 3 years here in France, like trying to learn French, and then every time I met a Lebanese guy, was like, yeah, I speak a lot of French because we have still like the after French mandate, like there were like still a lot of French schools, a lot of links between like French universities and Lebanese universities. In Syria, like not at all, not at all. I think there are two French-speaking school in Damascus, but they're only open to like the ultra like bourgeois like rich people.
Yeah,
So no, like
it's probably like a Maronite thing, right? They probably wanted to preserve the French thing more because I know that after the French left Lebanon, a bunch of like French monks and religious people stayed and they worked in monasteries, and that's kind of where a lot of people. I think that's where my family learned French. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the relations between France and Lebanon, I think, are way older than the French mandate, and they
Yeah.
stayed well after. Once in Syria, yeah, it wasn't exactly the case. Also, Assad, like the father, Hafiz al-Assad, was this really big, like anti-West, like socialist. Like I wouldn't even call him socialist because yeah, he was just like taking advantage of the ideology. But yeah, he was really about like nationalization, Arabization of the country. I think Syria is one of the few countries where even doctors like have to study everything in Arabic and not in English. Because most of the Arabic countries, I think, like they have a lot of programs in English for university. I think in Syria it's not the case at all. So
Okay.
yeah, we're very like because Al-Baath country, in Al-Baath party, you know, the party of Bashar al-Assad and Hafez al-Assad, is a pan-Arabist and socialist party. So yeah, the Arabic language was very important for them.
Okay. Well,
Do you speak French?
no.
Okay.
No. Like even when my like French Arabic speaking family was there, would they just like by then I was already just speaking English, so they didn't bother. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, to teach it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I get it.
Well, unless you have anything else, do you?
Yeah, no, yeah, I was glad to chat with you about it. I watch your stream often, so whenever you were talking about Lebanon or Syria or the Hezbollah conflict, the Israeli bombing of Syria, whenever you have question, like I would love to come up if you have any question about it.
Well, I imagine it's going to be in the news cycle for a little while now because I mean,
Yeah.
I think these communication attacks are I don't know why you would do that unless you were not preparing to do something afterwards as well, because it's basically
Yeah.
like revealing your hand, like playing a card. So I don't know why you would do that and then just stop there. They're probably going to do something
Yeah.
more. So yeah, it's going to be in the news for a while, I
Yeah.
think.
I think they could have done it a long time ago. So choosing this moment in particular, like, it's no coincidence. I saw someone tweeting, if this doesn't lead to a full-scale war between Lebanon and Israel, nothing will ever do. So yeah, this is like the biggest escalation we've seen like in decades between the two countries. So yeah, I think something will happen. So yeah, if something comes up, I'll be watching your stream. I would have loved to continue talking about it.
Yeah, cool. And
Also, whenever you debate any like retarded people, like especially the pro-Palestinian guys who are trying to like whitewash to try to whitewash the Hezbollah crimes in Syria, I can give you some good counter arguments about it.
okay.
It's not talking about me. Thank God.
What do you want,
Yeah.
Seth?
I want to say that I'm pretty sure I heard, I'm not sure how verifiable this is, that Israel detonated those pages because they thought Hezbollah was getting close to finding out about them.
Oh, they just thought like Really? So they were just like, let's
I
just
don't.
get it out
But
of the
here,
way.
here.
Like,
This
okay.
is something I heard. Did not like. I don't know how verifiable this is.
I mean, that's much better than the idea of them, preparing to invade.
Getting
So,
ready, yeah. It's like,
although
because like
apparently they're moving
you,
important brigades out of Gaza as well right now. So
they're moving important brigades out of Gaza.
yeah. Or no,
Like,
I think they're actually just moving. Are they moving north? Okay, someone in the
they're
chat said
moving
they were
north of
yeah.
Gaza. No.
No, is in like north. What's north of Gaza? In Lebanon, right? Eventually, if you go north enough, they're not fighting in fucking Ashkelon. They're not going to deploy a brigade in
You said-
Ashkelon.
okay, so north of Israel, not north of Gaza, motherfucker.
Yeah, if someone's leaving Gaza and heading north, they're going to fucking Israel, right? They're going to. They're probably going towards Lebanon.
Yeah,
or
but that's
back to
north
base.
of
I don't know.
the entire country, not Gaza.
Okay.
All right, listen, you misspoke. It's fine.
It's easy
we
to
forgive
forget
you.
about the
Lebanese.
country between Palestine and Lebanon. Okay.
Not easy enough for me, but it's because I'm traumatized. It's okay. For you, it's easy, even though most of your research is about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, have you ever seen that video of a Palestinian raising the Hezbollah flag in Al-Aqsa and they started cursing out the dude's mother?
No.
There was a guy raising the Hezbollah flag at Al-Aqsa, and they started calling him Ibn Sharmuta Ibn al-Ka'bah.
Wait, who was saying that to them?
Like other Palestinians.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that because I always thought, anyone who's not a fan of Israel is my friend. But when I was in the West Bank, I was asking people about axis of resistance, and they just kind of like turned their fucking nose up at it. They were just like, "What? Those guys? Like, okay, sure." Yeah, I didn't expect that. But okay.
At the end of the day, majority. Well, I wouldn't say majority. I'd say quite a big chunk of Palestinians realize that all of these acts of resistance towards Israel aren't for them. It's for their own goals, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't. But you could argue that for Hamas as well. But they support that, or is it just because Hamas is like one of them?
Well, because Hamas is Palestinian. That's the only reason.
All right. I don't know if that's representative though. I've never seen polling on what Palestinians think about the axis of resistance. So I think they like the Houthis for some reason, but not the other ones.
The Houthis, I think they like more because they've been like oppressed by Saudi Arabia and they've like went through like a horrible fucking situation in Yemen, which they view like more closely to them than they do for the fucking stupid Hezbollah, who just bring worse shit to their country rather than trying to better it.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, the Houthis give off more like this vibe of like we're not being controlled by anyone. We do whatever the fuck we want.
Even though they're controlled by Iran.
Even though they're controlled by Iran, but yeah, they give more of the vibe that like Iran do a lot of like it's like what Hasan Nasrallah said like when they were attacked like a month earlier, like we're gonna wait and be strategic and hit at the right moment. So this is regarded by bullshit like by Palestinians. So I think the Houthis at least they give the vibe that like we don't care about negotiations, we don't care about strategic time, like we're just gonna hit whenever we can.
It's like a bunch of virtual signaling with actual violence.
Exactly. So I'll leave you guys.
I'm gonna leave
have
too.
any questions? I'm gonna leave you guys to it. And yeah, really happy to talk to you and talk to you soon. I hope.
Take care, guys.
I'm leaving soon, but would they count as virtual signaling if there's like violence involved?
Kind of, because it's whether or not it helps something, right? So you could technically virtue signal by doing violence if it's ineffective violence.
Would you say it's ineffective violence? I would say it's ineffective from Hezbollah and the Houthis.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's effective if you want to displace, if you want to terrorize Israelis, because 60,000 plus of them are evacuated from the north.
But their goal is to just like stop the war on Gaza, which has
it's got nothing to do with stopping the war in Gaza. That's just a front. That's just because that's what they say to the rest of the world, right? So in 2006, they didn't say it was because they wanted to terrorize Israelis or fucking reclaim Al-Quds or whatever. It was because it was because of the Sheba farms. There was anti-colonial, right? That's why they said they did it. Like, stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, continue your Hasan research.
Okay. Bye.
Chit-chat.
Good. That was a good little talk. Did not expect that. Okay. Do I want to watch this? I don't know. Do I want to watch this guy? This man? Have you seen this man? He's just going to say America's terrorist, Israel's terrorist. If you don't like Hezbollah, it's because you hate Muslims. That's going to be the whole segment. Okay. I feel like I've watched every Hasan segment on the entire Israeli-Palestine conflict. So,
and pagers exploded, the entire world would be like, this is the most unimaginable act of...
if Hezbollah did it to Israel, people wouldn't like it. Okay, as if both sides have apparently equal legitimacy in their borders and equal legitimacy of control and equal right to go to war with the other. Okay, yeah, sure. What about...
market, man? That's crazy. Like, you're fucking out of your goddamn mind.
He's getting one guide. He's looking for
and that's the one that we have, like, direct footage of. There's kids there. There's elderly people there. What are you talking about? There's a kid in the shot. And fucking...
Remember when Hasan said that Hamas have a better civilian to militant ratio than the IDF? Which is like, even if that's true, that doesn't really tell you that much about the style of each side when it comes to how they fight. Because the difference is that when Hamas attacks Israel, the IDF comes and separates themselves from the civilians to fight. So obviously if you target Israeli civilians, you're going to end up very shortly in front of a soldier. And the civilian will run away if they can. So, okay.
Ultra Zionists are gloating on Twitter about this. Do you think if
someone asked about a shadow or proxy war, then needs to reverse through. Okay, it's so stupid. It's so 12 IQ nonsense. Okay, I don't need that. No, thank you.